buenos días a todas y todos. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos. Hoy vamos a conversar sobre los fondos CARSI y vamos a evacuar consultas que tengan sobre el proceso. Es importante mencionar que todo el programa es en inglés, razón por la cual vamos a tener esta sesión en ese idioma. Y dicho esto, I'm going to switch to English. My name is Roberto Soto. I work at the U.S. Embassy here in San Jose, and I am the Grants Officer Representative for the CARSI program. And with me, Jesse Golland.
Thank you, Roberto. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for your interest in the CARSI NOFO. As Roberto mentioned, my name's Jesse Golland. I'm an economic officer at the U.S. Embassy here in beautiful Costa Rica, and I'm also the grants officer in charge of the CARSI program with my partner in crime, Roberto. And so today we're doing our annual Facebook Live event where you will have the opportunity to ask us questions about the NOFO Notice of Funding Opportunity that we published on grants.gov. You can also find that information on the Embassy Funding Opportunities website about a month ago. We do these sessions to answer your questions live in a transparent manner so that everyone interested in applying for the CARSI program can get the similar information at the same time. So if you're here today, we imagine that's because you're interested in the program, and we thank you for that. And so CARSI stands for the Central America Regional Security Initiative. In Costa Rica since 2010, we've done approximately 60 loans or 60 awards for over $13 million to support programs in every corner of Costa Rica. And we're really excited about this program. The focus of CARSI in the recent years has been on CARSI pillar number 3, which is strong, capable, and accountable governments, which relates to governance. And that is, again, the focus of our Notice of Funding Opportunity this year. We're seeking strong proposals that will advance governance objectives in Costa Rica and create those strong, accountable governments. And so, before we jump into the questions, the number one advice that Roberto and I give every year that we do this is please read thoroughly the Notice of Funding Opportunity. All of the information that we will give you is likely found in that document. What we're looking for in the proposal, how you can put together a proposal, all of that information is in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. To help us answer some of your questions today, we printed out materials, and those materials include the Notice of Funding Opportunity because that's where we're going to go for our answers. So that's always the number one, advice that we give every year. Additionally, this year we're excited to announce that funding available. We should have $1 million for projects in Costa Rica, which is an increase from previous years. We're looking for 3 to 5 projects. Again, all this information is in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, but we'll fund 3 to 5 projects, anywhere ranging from $150,000 to $250,000. Again, proposals are due May 7th at midnight, and that's midnight Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. TICO time. So please get your submissions in on time if you're interested in this funding opportunity. And lastly, please read through the objectives in the NOFO. We get lots of questions about what we're looking for in projects. Roberto and I spend a lot of time working on those, and that gives you an idea of what types of projects we're interested in this funding cycle. And I also want to add, we have on our colleague Blake White, who works in the Western Hemisphere Bureau in the Department of State up in Washington. He is a grants expert, also on the line available should we need his assistance with any questions. So we thank Blake for being with us today. And with that, I will kick it over. Please start submitting the questions as you see fit. Pop them in to the website, and Roberto and I will get to them as quickly as possible. So Roberto, I'll turn it over to you to see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Jesse. We just made a volume adjustment, and we want to make sure that everyone is hearing loud and clear. So we're reading your comments. Can you please let us know if the volume is appropriate now?
It's work.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you, Blake.
Thank you, Blake. We will start with a first question. Jesse, can someone send a proposal in Spanish?
No, and I know Roberto covered this in Espanol at the beginning. The CARSI process we require that proposals, all supporting materials be sent in English. These are stored in U.S. government record systems. For that reason, they need to be in English. And then throughout the project lifetime, if you do end up getting awarded, everything you need to send in to us needs to be in English, from your project narratives, giving updates on how the project is going, to your financials. All of the conversations we have once the project kicks off are in English. So that's, again, why we do the call today in English. When you're an awardee, we're happy to go through some things in Spanish, but all official documentation needs to be in English, including the proposal.
Great, thank you. So just another question. Is Costa Rica required to be one of the implementation countries?
Yes, so the CARSI ESF program, we have posted opportunities at our embassies in Belize, in Panama, in Costa Rica. Those are all open now, and if you visit the websites of our sister embassies in those countries, you can find funding opportunities there. But for our specific one today, we're talking about the Notice of Funding Opportunity in Costa Rica. Implementation has to happen in Costa Rica. We work with lots of local NGOs in the past that are based in Costa Rica. We can certainly work with NGOs or eligible organizations that are based outside of Costa Rica, but project implementation and the activities have to be conducted on the ground in Costa Rica. Thanks, Roberto.
Okay, thank you. Also based on that question, can an organization apply in several countries in Central America?
Yes, so you are welcome to apply. These are separate notice of funding opportunities. We do look at these up in Washington. We will be considering which proposals are the strongest in each country. So we'll want to make sure that your organization has the bandwidth. If you're dedicating staff, resources towards projects in CARSI projects in multiple countries. But yes, there is no reason you couldn't apply for multiple opportunities.
Thank you. This is a very common question we always get. Could an organization join efforts with, let's say, a municipality or a local government here in Costa Rica?
Sure. So the CARSI program, as we mentioned at the top, the goal is on creating strong, capable, and accountable governments. It is to improve governance in Costa Rica. Again, if you go to the NOFO, you'll see who our eligible organizations are: nonprofit organizations, education institutions, and those are our primary awardees. Those are the main partners that the embassy works with in the CARSI program. But oftentimes, and honestly, during the proposal process or before the proposal process, those organizations, as they're working on their proposal, will have likely selected, it can be any type of government. It can be municipal governments. We've done lots of projects with NGOs that have supported improving governance at the municipal level. It can be at the national level. We've done projects that have collaborated with the Ministry of Hacienda. And additionally, we've done projects with NGOs that support ASADAs, rural water community organizations. So it doesn't even have to be, a state, municipal, or national government level organization.
Okay, thank you. Based on that also, we typically hear about applicants asking who can be a grantee and a sub-grantee. And based on that, we would like to mention that any organization that falls under the eligibility criteria that Jesse just mentioned, NGOs, public or private universities, and international public organizations, can be a grantee or a sub-grantee. Okay, thank you. We appreciate if anyone has any questions, please just include them in the chat. Another question we recently received: can a for-profit organization be part of these grants?
Thank you, Roberto. We get this question a lot. Again, encourage you to go to the Notice of Funding Opportunity, which has a very clear section on which organizations are eligible to be awardees for CARSI funding. For-profit organizations are not eligible to be the primary awardees. We have worked with nonprofit organizations that have, through contractual services, obviously paid funds to for-profit organizations. whether they're helping with the development of an app, whether they're helping with software, whatever it might be. So that is something we see quite frequently. But let's say you are a for-profit business and you came across this opportunity on your Facebook timeline. This opportunity is not for you. Again, on the notice of funding opportunity, you'll note the eligible organizations.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Marilyn is asking if this can be a co-op, the non-for-profit.
Good question, Marilyn. I think I would need more information on your co-op, but again, what I would advise is on the executive summary of our notice of funding opportunity to the first page, and deeper in the notice of funding opportunity, it lists the eligible organizations. And if your co-op is a not-for-profit organization, whether that's registered in the United States or registered in Costa Rica or elsewhere, we leave it to you to make that determination of if your specific co-op fits into those eligible categories. Thank you. Great question.
Okay.
And I would also,
Oh, please, Blake, go ahead.
I'd also like to add, as a co-op, it would not be a co-op, but as a IT or a monitoring and evaluation as a subawardee, that is possible. But that is only subawardee if it's IT or if it's monitoring and evaluation. Thanks.
Thank you, Blake. We appreciate your expertise.
Thank you, Blake. We've received two similar questions from Josial and Guillermo regarding grants.gov and SAM.gov registration processes, asking if someone from the embassy can provide direct assistance on these processes.
I think I know the answer, but Roberto is our resident expert on all things grants.gov and SAM.gov, so I will let him answer this one. Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you, Jesse. So unfortunately, these platforms, grants.gov, SAM.gov, and others are external to the embassy, so we cannot provide assistance, but we always encourage applicants to reach out to the help desk. Both platforms have a help engine on the right corner, and you can easily access it and submit all your questions, and they'll provide assistance accordingly.
And to add on to Roberto's point, we know it takes a while to put together strong proposals. You're working with your government partners. You're doing the necessary research to come up with the right activities and indicators. Please do not save grants.gov registration and SAM.gov registrations for the last second. Again, we need to get these proposals in by May 7th at midnight Eastern Standard Time. It can take a while to work through registration issues. And so I advise you to work on those things concurrently. Make sure that you have accounts in grants.gov and SAM.gov as soon as possible while you're also working on your proposal. Please do not save those registrations for the last second, because as Roberto mentioned, this is not an area where the embassy can help. We don't have control over those sites. So you need to work through their help desks and their help numbers, and that can be time consuming. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse. Glenda is asking if these projects may include topics like mental health and accessibility from Neurodiversidad. So I would let Jesse respond that if, we can work with those topics.
Yes, Glenda, great question. And it depends is the answer. And I think it definitely, a strong proposal could address mental health and accessibility of people. And I know for the first year in our notice of funding opportunity, we've included language that we would like to see proposals focus on themes such as diversity, inclusion, equality, and accessibility. Now, those are things we'd like to see in a proposal. And when you talk about mental health and accessibility, as long as your proposal is tied to governance, right? So this cannot be to just conduct a program that supports a certain population with mental health programs. That is a worthwhile activity, but it just might not be the best fit for a CARSI program. So if it was helping the government improve the programs and services they offer on mental health and accessibility, and that could be a trial project in a municipality or improving civil societies ability to hold the government accountable for these programs, those are strong governance examples that still tie to your areas of interest. But sometimes this is different from your question, but we'll receive proposals that are very strong economic development proposals, creating jobs in Punta Arenas or things like that. And if there is not a governance tie, even though it might be a well-written proposal, you are getting graded on how your proposal ties to the NOFO and the governance objectives. So we ask that you keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jesse. So we are just waiting to include a few comments, but okay, one moment, please. So Eric Erickson is asking if you could please elaborate on the DUNS number.
And again, this is another area where I think, Roberto, you're more of an expert than I am, so I will pass it back to you to provide any guidance to Eric on the DUNS process.
Yeah, thank you. So the DUNS number was removed last year from the requirements. Currently, we ask for a unique entity identifier number, which you can obtain in sam.gov. You can simply access that platform and register, and it will pop up all the requirements. And once you fulfill all the requirements, it will give you the unique entity identifier number. Eric is also asking, what is the average time for preparing for a NOFO? 6 months, 9 months, 1 year?
That's a great question, Eric. And for this current NOFO, again, so a little bit of history. We offer the CARSI NOFO at U.S. Embassy San Jose once a year. And we actually are published our NOFO a little bit earlier than we normally do this year. And so for this year's one funding opportunity, proposals have to be submitted by May 7th at midnight Eastern Standard Time. What we encourage interested applicants in doing is thinking about your CARSI proposals as far as advanced as possible, because what you need to be doing as you're preparing to write a proposal is also working with whoever your government interlocutors are going to be that you're working on this program with. And so making sure you have the buy-in. One of the things we mentioned in the notice of funding opportunity is having letters of what are they?
Support letters.
Support letters, yeah. So support letters. So if you're proposing that you're going to do a proposal with the Ministry of Educación Pública, it's going to be important for us to see a support letter from that ministerio saying that, okay, we are going to work with this NGO on this project. We're very excited about it. And so, it takes some time to prepare, to build those relationships. These might be existing relationships that you already have through your nonprofit organization's, annual activities. But there's no correct answer. We certainly think it is good to prepare for the NOFO proposals before the publication date, to have a project in mind, to have already talked about this project idea with your potential partner. And those usually make the strongest proposals, because if the NOFO goes live in March, like it did this year, and at that point you start talking to potential partners about your proposal, you're really in a rush situation to put together a strong proposal. You don't necessarily want to do it too far in advance. Lots of our programs are done with the government, whether it's, again, at the national level or the municipal level. There can be turnover. You can lose a project champion. So, really leave it to your discretion. But certainly before the notice of funding opportunity goes live, it's a good practice to have a proposal idea in mind and to have talked through that proposal idea with a potential partner.
Great, thank you, Jesse. We have another question. Can a recipient rent or lease vehicles with grants funds?
It is, and I'm gonna give my initial answer, and then I'll go to Blake, our technical expert. I am pretty sure that it is an allowable expense to rent vehicles. Or what was the other? It was either vehicles or
rent or lease vehicles.
Rent or lease vehicles. Yes, so that is an allowable expense. Now, I will say, I've worked on a few CARSI panels at this point, and if we see in the budget that there is a sizable, vehicle rental expense on the budget, that is in the upwards of multiple thousands of dollars, the budget that you submit, the budget narrative you submit is going to get reviewed by the panel, and they're going to want to make sure that the project is getting the most bang for the buck, as we say in the United States. And so that has drawn some questions. It is absolutely an allowable expense. We realize that these are expenses that you might need, especially, one of the focus areas for the CARSI program in Costa Rica is helping communities outside of the GAM. And so that might require your NGO to rent a car to get out there to do a program. But we would just caution that, if leasing a vehicle is, a major expense, that might draw some question marks.
Okay, thank you. Blake?
Yeah, I would just, well, actually, yeah, I should plan on having that would go into interpretation. Renting a vehicle for an event, that should fly the budget. As far as using a vehicle, we just have to discuss that with your awarded.
Great. Thank you, Blake. We have a comment that these projects are for various provinces across Costa Rica, and I would just like to note that yes, one of our priorities is working outside the greater metropolitan area. So we have worked previously in Punta Arenas, in Limon, in San Carlos, and we look forward to
Tortuguero. We've literally,
Tortuguero.
the CARSI program has been in Costa Rica for, almost 13 years now. And as Roberto has mentioned, and I've mentioned in the NOFO states, we prioritize programs that will support vulnerable populations outside of the GAM, so outside of the San Jose capital area. Also, if you look at our NOFO this year and you read through the specific objectives, we have one that looks specifically for programs in Limon this year. I will note that it is not a requirement that a program take place outside of the GAM. It is not a requirement that a program take place in Limon, but given those are listed as priority objectives, our voting panel that's going to make the decision on the best proposals is going to factor in, whether those proposals fully address, some of those issues. But if the best proposal we receive that addresses governance issues is to take place in San Jose, that will also receive strong consideration from the panel.
Thank you, Jesse. We have a question from Antonio. Can you improve the reaches of this meeting to Spanish audience? So like we mentioned, all the process is conducted in English. The proposal drafting and submission are conducted in English, as well as the monitoring, evaluation, and compliance. So that's the main reason we are having this session in English.
And going back to why we do this session, and Roberto, I think did a good job of explaining why we do it in English. But once we publish the notice of funding opportunity, we want to make sure that everyone that's interested in applying for this program has the same access to information. That we're not doing side meetings talking to organizations about how they can have a strong proposal. When we receive questions via email, we keep a list of those, and we'll publish those soon so everyone can see our answers. And that's why we do these Facebook Live events, so everyone can have access to the same information at the same time. And yes, unfortunately, it is in English. But if you're going to be submitting a CARSI proposal, it's not a requirement, but it's likely that you'll need to have someone on your staff who has a strong grasp of English, who can put the proposal in English, who can write the project narratives in English, because those are requirements.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. We have another question. Will all resources be channeled to the main grantee?
Yes, all resources go to the primary awardee. If there are any sub-awardees, the primary awardee then is responsible for funding those organizations. Roberto or Blake, I don't know if you have anything to add on primary awardees versus sub-awardees.
Yeah, thank you. So all resources will be channeled through the prime grantee, and the relationship is between the prime grantee and the Department of State. So the prime grantee is the one that monitors and channels all of the funding through their subgrantees. Like, I don't know if you have something else.
Nope, that's all right.
Okay, thank you. We are waiting for some additional questions. I don't know if someone else have something else to ask.
Keep your questions coming in. We have this session for up to an hour, as long as the questions are flowing in. And again, this is the one opportunity that the notice of funding opportunity closes in May. And so we have I think in our notice of funding opportunity, Roberto, there's a last date for questions. We're approaching that, and so this is the time. If you're working on those proposals, if you have a question about the process, about grants.gov, that's why we're here today. We want to make sure we get as many strong proposals as possible, because that will allow our panel to choose the greatest proposals that are going to have the best impact in Costa Rica for Costa Ricans.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. We have a question from Carolina. If it's a private business that applies to develop a social community intervention, such as a public donation, will that also be accepted?
Thank you, Carolina. Great question. Again, if it is a private business, under the requirements of the notice of funding opportunity, it does not sound like your business would be an eligible organization. And so again, and I know people are joining halfway through this, but it's a good time to mention that really the notice of funding opportunity, which is available on the U.S. Embassy website in the funding opportunities page, and also on grants.gov, where you have more information on the funding opportunity, lists eligible organizations. For-profit companies are not eligible organizations to be primary awardees. I would also say, a project that is a public donation, again, I'm not sure if, again, without having more details, if that fits what we're looking for projects that look to strengthen governance in Costa Rica. So just want to make sure that you're closely reading the objectives for the CARSI program this year.
Thank you, Jesse. We have a question from Christian. Do you have any expectation about the relation of cost benefit in terms of number of people receiving or being impacted with the project?
That's a great question, Christian. We don't have any, baseline standard of you need to impact this many people. We've done programs that are national in scope, that work with the Ministry of Hacienda to provide greater insight into public spending and public purchases. That is something that impacts every Costa Rican who can use that tool. We've also had amazing successful projects that focus on 1 to 3 municipalities. So again, our panel is going to look at the size of your proposal, which again, this year we're looking for anywhere from $150,000 to $250,000. If your proposal is a $250,000 proposal and it's going to have an impact on 12 people, that might raise some question marks. There's no right answer. Obviously, the most impact that you can have is the best, but we also want it to be the right type of impact, right? So, whether it's within one municipality or nationwide, we're really looking for strong proposals that will have impact, that we think are lasting impact, that will be sustainable after the project ends and the CARSI money goes away. That's what really excites the panel, is if this is something that can cause long-term change and be sustainable after the program ends, or can be a test pilot that will allow the government to, launch similar programs elsewhere. So great question, but there's no right answer.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse. Carolina is asking if this is being recorded. Yes, Carolina, this is being recorded. You can see it again. Because of the volume issues, I missed the first part. Thank you. Maybe, Jesse, you can do a quick recap of the CARSI program for those who missed the introduction.
Yeah, no, and Carolina, I do think it is being recorded. We apologize for some of the sound issues early on. I'll give a quick overcap of what I covered at the beginning. Again, I'm Jesse Golland, Economic Officer and CARSI Grants Officer. We have Roberto Soro, our Grants Officer Representative. We are doing this in English because all of the documents need to be submitted in English, including your proposal. We do this annual Facebook Live event because we want to be as transparent as possible in getting everyone interested in the CARSI program answers at the same time. And thank you again for your interest in the CARSI program. We hope to get as many strong proposals as possible this year. CARSI stands for the Central America Regional Security Initiative. Through CARSI in Costa Rica, we've supported approximately 60 awards for over $13 million throughout every corner of Costa Rica. And this year, as in the past few years, this is in our notice of funding opportunity, but we are looking for projects that focus on CARSI Pillar number 3, which look to create strong, capable, and accountable governments, or improve governance, essentially, is what that is saying. So please read the objectives, please read the notice of funding opportunity. That gives you all the information that you'll need to submit a very, very strong proposal. Proposals are due May 7th by midnight EST, Eastern Standard Time, so that's 10 p.m. in Costa Rica. Please don't save it for the very last second. And this year we have $1 million funding available, and we'll be doing 3 to 5 projects for $150,000 to $250,000 are the proposal sizes we're looking for. And I think that's a very quick overview of what we covered at the top. So hopefully you have that now, Carolina.
Thank you, Jesse. Eric is asking mentioning that it would be helpful for people to see past NOFOs, so as to understand the complexity. So yes, Eric, we have our current NOFO available in the platform, and you can ask to San Jose CARSI ESF at state.gov, and we can send you past NOFOs for your reference.
But Eric, what I would say is my advice would be really focus on the current NOFO, because our panel will be assessing your proposal based off of this year's NOFO. There's a lot of similar language from this year's NOFO and past NOFOs, but the goal is on this year's NOFO, and there have been updates in this year's NOFO. So things we've asked for previous years are no longer applicable this year. So I think our recommendation would be, really read this year's notice of funding opportunity before you dive into your proposal, understand what we're looking for in the requirements, and that will help you have the strongest proposal possible.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse. Adolfo is asking if you could mention again the deadline for submit the initiatives.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adolfo, for the question. The deadline is May 7th at midnight Eastern Standard Time. So that's 10 o'clock in the evening in Costa Rica time. Roberto and I have been doing this program a few years now. We typically get all of our proposals on the day that proposals are due. That's fine. That's, I think, normal, not just in Costa Rica, but elsewhere. We encourage you to get in your proposals as soon as possible. Obviously, take the time you need to make it as strong a proposal as possible. Do not wait till the last minute. We've had people who have connectivity issues, or someone asked us a question a few weeks ago. Grants.gov was temporarily down, right? So our advice is please don't wait until the very last second. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Marilyn is asking, what is the length of these projects? 12 months, 24 months?
Great question, Marilyn. Again, this information is in the notice of funding opportunity, but it can be anywhere from 12 months to 24 months. And so, really depends on you and what you're looking to initiate. I know last year we funded programs that were 1 year. We funded programs that were 2 years. So it really depends on the project you're looking to do. But the notice of funding opportunity does have strict requirements of what is the minimum and maximum project time.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse. Senia is asking if art can be included in this program.
Great question, Xenia. I love art, huge art fan. If you are able to incorporate art into a strong proposal that addresses CARSI Pillar number 3 of strong, capable, and accountable governments, of improving governance, by all means, we would welcome a proposal that highlights art. If it is to, work on a public piece of art or create an art program for youth, that gets a little bit away from our governance goals. So we just want to make sure that you read our priority objectives, that you understand the governance requirement, and make sure that your proposal fits those requirements in the notice of funding opportunity.
Thank you. And adding on top of what Jesse just mentioned, Sinia, I would also recommend you to take a look at our public diplomacy's notice of funding opportunity for their program. I know they have included art previously in their calls.
Yeah, thanks, Roberto. And that's a good point. Please visit the Embassy's Funding Opportunities website. Our public diplomacy colleagues have amazing funding opportunities that are typically published there. We also have funding opportunities with our colleagues in the INL office that are more security related. So not every proposal or not every project is the right fit for CARSI. But fortunately at the U.S. Embassy, we have multiple funding mechanisms with different objectives and goals. And, follow the Embassy's social media accounts, keep track of the Embassy's Funding Opportunities website, and you might find the right description for your organization.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesse. Wak is asking if we can provide the link to apply for the proposal. I just wanted to mention that our colleagues will include it in the publication, so you can check it there. Okay. We're just waiting to see if someone else has further questions.
Thank you for all the questions so far. They've all been fantastic. We really appreciate your interest. The more proposals we receive, the better chance that U.S. government dollars will go towards stronger proposals that'll have impact in your communities. So, we'll stay on as long as the questions keep rolling in. If there's a long lull, I think we've been on long enough that we would consider signing off. But we're going to stay on for a bit. If you have questions, because we're here, this is our opportunity to help you out. So please keep them coming in. There's no bad questions. There's no stupid questions. It's a complicated process, but I promise you, if you submit a strong proposal, this is a great opportunity for your organization.
Thank you, Jesse. I know that previously we've been asked about what budget expense categories can be included in the budget for these proposals. So maybe we can go over some of the categories. We can fund personal expenses, including any personnel directly employed by the recipient organization that can be directly attributed to the grant. That's one category. Fringe benefits can also be included, and these include cost items such as pension plans, health benefits, and other benefits to conform to an organization's established policies. As we previously discussed, travel costs can be included as well. Leasing or car rental can be included. Equipment purchase can be included. However, these costs for equipment should be for those having a useful life of more than 1 year, and an acquisition cost of $500,000 only. Additionally, contractual services can be included, a procurement contract under an award or a sub-tier awards for goods or services. Other direct costs can be included, such as furniture, rugs, and other indirect costs for the program. Lastly, indirect costs that include services for the offices, internet connectivity, and those costs are also allowable.
Okay, I think I see a question on some of the past successes of CARSI in Costa Rica. Roberto, I don't know if you want to highlight some of the projects we've done in the past, ones with strong governance angles, and Roberto can share 2 or 3 examples. And again, we will share examples of programs we have funded in the past. Programs we've funded in the past might have directly been related to previous notice of funding opportunities. So these are great examples of CARSI programs, but again, you should be tailoring your proposal on on this year's Notice of Funding opportunity and not based off of successful programs we've done in the past.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. So recently we have worked, as we mentioned, across multiple provinces and counties in Costa Rica. We have worked to strengthen ASADAs, which are the community-based water management organizations that provide water services in rural communities of Costa Rica. So we have worked with a few organizations that work to improve their accountability mechanisms, their management capacities, their service provisions, and also the coordination between the government agencies and the ASADAs to make sure that they are able and capable to fulfill all the regulatory requirements. That's a great project that we have had recently. We have also worked with an organization that improved Costa Rica's public procurement system based on CCOP. They created a platform that allows citizens, media, and other interested stakeholders to retrieve data from CCOP to ensure more transparent public procurement processes. And lastly, we have recently worked with sustainable fisheries, especially in the Gulf of Nicoya. This area is very sensitive to the impacts of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. So we are working with sustainable fishing organizations to strengthen their capacities to make sure they are able to go through the no-take period by strengthening their financial capacities and their fishing methods to make sure those are sustainable and aligned with the government regulations. So those are a few projects very successful that we have had recently, and that we look forward to hearing about similar initiatives across the country.
Great, thank you, Roberto. And I think I saw a question on whether individuals can apply for the CARSI program. And again, I think there were some good answers in the chat, but we just encourage you to read that eligible organization portion of the Notice of Funding opportunity, and individuals typically do not qualify. So just make sure you read that information. It looks like we've gotten all the questions in, so thank you all so much for your time. Again, number one advice, if you have questions that you think about later today, more than likely those answers are found in the Notice of Funding opportunity. So please review the NOFO. Thank you so much. Thanks to Blake in Washington for joining us. Thanks to my colleague Roberto, our grants extraordinaire, who has all the answers. And really, we're excited for the amazing proposals we're going to receive this year that we know will have a great impact in Costa Rica. Thank you, and que tengan buen día. Ciao.